Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Oral Exposure with me, your host X, and my co-host, Mr. Wesley Mandrake. How you doing, Wes?
I'm doing great. How are you, X?
Oh, I'm always doing great, man. You know me, always doing good. Well, since our last time, we had this very, very intensely political topic, J.K. Rowling and transgender community. This time I thought, let's bring it back down, do something a little more chill, right? And what's more chill than aliens? I don't know if you've seen those videos of aliens smoking doobies. So we know aliens are like a very chill breed. So let's talk about it.
I've seen the movie, Paul.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seth Rogen's voice, right? It's just like him.
That movie that tricked me into thinking it was an Edgar Wright movie because it had Nick Frost and Simon Pegg in it. It was just a movie with those two people in it as the main characters.
Oh man,
bastards!
I know, right? I'm so looking forward to another one of Edgar's fucking film, which was really genius, but of course it would underperform at box offices, which doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, the reason I want to talk about aliens today is because recently we have a news from some scientists. Which scientists? I don't know. They're not NASA, but they're scientists. They had a degree. But basically scientists, they found some alien fart on Venus. So, first of all, alien fart. I'll explain that in a little bit.
Yeah, you might have to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, but second, I just want to bring everyone's attention on Venus real quick. So Venus is known as Earth's twin, right? So it's about the same mass, same composition. It spins backwards. The surface is about 900 degrees Fahrenheit, so pretty high. So next time you go there to vacation,
it's about the same as here.
Yeah, it's about the same as here. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, if you're living in California, that's or Reno, Nevada. Yeah, it's about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. But what's different is that while we have air in our atmosphere, they have acidic clouds up there in Venus. And remember the acidic clouds, because it'll come in handy a little bit, very shortly afterwards. So when I say fart, what I mean actually is phosphine cloud. So basically, on Earth, phosphine cloud is a flammable material produced only by bacteria, right? It's the only way it gets produced ever, because it's not a naturally forming gas on Earth. It's produced by bacteria, and it's produced in swamps, wetlands, sludge, or animal guts. So that's why I said fart, because our gut produces smells similar to decaying fish or garlic, decomposition, things like that. So basically, like what I said before was Venus had acidic clouds, and what acidic cloud does is that it very quickly breaks down phosphine gas, so which means that it can't create itself naturally. So basically on Earth, the only way phosphine gas can be created is through organic decomposition or organic matters. It doesn't create any other way. So on Venus, right, phosphine gas exists in an atmosphere that's not supposed to allow for phosphine gas. So basically it brings us back to the question is that are there organic matters on Venus that's producing phosphine gas? So it brings us to an age-old question, right? Is do aliens exist? Are we the only life in the universe? Are there things out there? Right? It's always an age-old question. There's no way for us to know, but everyone has different opinions on it. So number one, I want to ask Wes, what's your take on alien life? Do you think they exist? And if they do, what are they?
As to the form of aliens, of what they are, I make no presumptions of what they may look like.
Not like an
what
Asari?
They might be in any way.
Just they're all with boobs and really hot?
I think the only thing that is probably for sure is that they will not be humanoid. They will not look very much like us.
Really?
I think it's very unlikely for them to look like us. I think the reason we have a lot of aliens that are humanoid in science fiction is because it's really easy to create, especially in low budget sci-fi, because you have to put in a lot of effort with makeup and everything still, but depending on the movie you're watching. But it's just easier to create. It's easier for people to come up with things that look closer to us than it is to create something that is so unique and alien. Basically.
Right, that requires imagination, right? Who has
I think first of all, I think it's very likely that aliens do exist. But I think if we had come in contact with them by now, I think there wouldn't be any doubt that we did. I don't think it would just be the fringe conspiracy nuts talking about aliens and the fact that they exist and that we've come in contact with them and that we have them in Area 51 or they built the pyramids. I don't think there would be any doubt.
Right. So people would just know this is a huge piece of news.
Yeah, I think we would know, but we don't 100% know, and so I don't think we actually have come in contact with aliens at this point. That said, the universe is huge, and I think it's very likely, it's way more than likely, that there's more life to be found besides on Earth.
Right. I mean, like
there's evidence of that. There's
right?
There's evidence of. I think there's a little bit of evidence of that from Mars, if I remember correctly. I don't have a source though.
Mars?
So don't quote me on that.
What? Okay. What?
Well, they found water on Mars. I'm not sure if yeah.
Right. Well, they found mud on Mars, which would indicate that there was water.
Yeah,
but
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which is it's really.
That's
cool.
That's a different thing. Anyway, but yeah, no, the universe is vast, and the likelihood of there being some other form of life in the universe is very high. I think.
Right.
I think. Yeah.
Well,
I don't think we're alone, but I don't think we've met the others yet.
Yeah. Like mathematically speaking, if the universe is infinite, then the likelihood of life occurring twice eventually is going to happen. Like that's the argument for one side.
Yeah. As for the scientific stuff with the phosphine gas and the acidic cloud and everything that you're talking about, I don't know anything. I don't know enough about science to like really contribute to that. I'm just taking what you gave me there as like face value.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You trust me, man. So, I might have made this up, but you don't know. Yeah. But this is it's something that happens. I mean, like alien life, like in that case, might just be bacteria. Like it's not like something that's conscious, like humanoid, or even just functional. It might just be like some clusters of cell they can produce, they can fart. Like their only purpose in life is to fart out phosphine gas. Like imagine that the farting aliens, the flatulent race. Yeah.
I honestly think that if you like in terms of what aliens will look like, instead of them looking like you said, the Asari from Mass Effect,
right?
Or
slap some tits on there, right?
or like Klingons from Star Trek or something like that.
Slap some tits on the nostrils, right? Yeah.
No, I think it won't be something like that. I think if you want a more accurate of version of what aliens may look like, you just need to look at what exists like way below sea level, where pressure is like too great for humans to exist.
Right.
You see some really weird stuff underwater, and I think that is probably closer to what you're going to find on an alien planet.
Well, actually, I think
in terms of form, not necessarily in terms of function.
Right. Actually, so you're on the right track there, I think. But like, I personally think, I think what you said when boiled down to the basic level is that what aliens look like depends on their environment. Because what's in the deep sea level, they look like that because they have a very high pressured environment, and that's how they look like. So basically, if the planet has 900 degrees Fahrenheit temperature and very acidic, we might see life forms that can survive to adapt to that. Like we as primates, monkeys, we can survive in that environment. But like if lizards or things with shells, things that can survive in high temperatures, they can live in there. Life can develop. I think to say that life exists is great. But on the other hand, everyone assumes if life exists out there in the universe, they're on the same intellectual level as we are. I think intelligence it's from our environment. Our environment created our intelligence at one point. I think on a planet where there's absolutely no requirements for intelligence, you just survive, you fart, and you eat, and that's it, and there's nothing else. You're never required to do anything else. There'll just be sludges of moving cells.
There's a difference between between life or there's a different level of functionality between life and sentience.
Right, exactly.
And what you're describing, and we are sentient. We are aware of the fact that we are alive, and we are aware of the fact that we will die someday.
Yeah. Wow.
We have the capacity
to create. Bring it down, man.
Well, we have the capacity to create. We have the capacity for philosophy. We have the capacity for math, science, creativity is basically the thing. But every other form of life on Earth does not have that functionality.
Right. Yeah.
So it's
So the question isn't really is there alien life that exists, right? Most likely there is. The question would be, are they on the same sentience as we are? Are they on the same intelligence level as we are? Right?
Yeah. And how would we even contact them if we could find them?
Right, yeah. Well, not that we haven't tried, actually. That's part of our topics. Yeah. But before we go into that, I just want to kind of ask a little bit of a question. It might be a personal one. But why do you think people are so fascinated with aliens? Because it's a conversation that keeps popping up. For me, when I was a kid, aliens popped up. I'm like, oh, this is something that I never knew. But a couple of days ago, when I saw the NPR a news report saying they found a fart on Venus, I was like, whoa! Now all of a sudden it's become interesting to me. So why do you think people are interested in aliens? Why do you think you are actually?
I think it varies for people. It depends on the reason for what kind of interest. My interest for aliens is very much comes from more of a sci-fi sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just like the philosophy and like the idea, like the philosophical question of are we alone in the universe being answered through sci-fi is just a really cool one to explore.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see it explored in novels like Ender's Game or games like Mass Effect or movies like Star Wars is pretty light, so maybe not that. Well, Star Trek could probably be a better one. Those are both pretty light sci-fi. Arrival is apparently pretty good. I still haven't seen Arrival, but Arrival is apparently a really good one about that.
Right.
Even Alien.
I think it boils down to there's a lot of movies for it, but like the reason those movies exist, I think, is just like they.
No,
question, right?
I think there's a human fascination with the unknown, and I think if I'm going to go ahead and make this comparison, but I think the search for aliens is very similar to like the search for God in a way.
Yeah. Okay. All
right. I really do think that.
Let's dive into this. Okay.
I really do think that like people are fascinated with like finding out if aliens exist in the same way people want to find the answers for the afterlife.
Yeah,
because the afterlife is unknown to us in the same way that the alien existence is unknown to us.
Right. Yeah.
There is a difference with the alien existence and the God thing, is that one is taken on faith and one is a little bit more evidence based.
Right.
But the people who are like hardcore, and it's especially funny because people who are like hardcore, like, no, we've contacted aliens, really like scrimp and scramble for like evidence all over the place that. Like, this is why it has to be a thing in the same way that, like, 9/11 and moon landing conspiracy theorists do.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a desire for answers and curiosity. From that perspective, obviously, there's the actual the scientific perspective of just trying to find out. And I don't know. I don't really know the actual scientific perspective other than just basic philosophy of. Right. What I just said, like the search for aliens, I believe, is kind of similar to like the search for God.
Yeah. So like
searching for because like you were saying earlier, nobody assumes that the aliens we come in contact with are going to be like these just like single cell like plant life or non-sentient organisms. Everybody assumes that they're going to have a much higher intelligence than us, and they're going to be kind of like these angelic, godlike beings most of the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a word in edgewise here. Like,
sorry,
but I just totally forgot what I was about to say like 3 sentences ago.
I'm sorry.
But basically, like, I was just wanted to remark on the fact that, like, I just wanted to agree with that. Humans, like, way back when, before there was a concept relation, before there was a concept of philosophy, look up in the sky and see stars, and they think, they used to think those are just like gases or whatever. There's like spirits in the sky, and then eventually people came up with a story that there might be God. God might make the stars and things like that. And then eventually, like, philosophy came around, astronomy came around, and they're like, oh, they're actually little planets. And then I think we're moving on from God to aliens. So I think, is a question worth asking is which one comes first, God or alien? I think God came first and the aliens came second. Because, before we didn't know there were planets out there. We didn't know there were worlds like ours out there. So, like, God is older than aliens. I think that's pretty funny, like to me. But yeah, it's a thing with curiosity, and there's some people who want to answer that curiosity right away, and I think they come up with aliens and God. Like, maybe in the way future we'll come up with a different a solution. Maybe aliens won't even be a thing. Maybe it's just something else completely. Maybe it's like all a simulation, like computer simulation, which is like part like little bites of stuff. But basically, like,
there are people who think that.
Yeah. Exactly. And they have some very, very solid arguments, like none of which I can recount, but like they're very solid arguments. But like, Wes, you touched on people like with all these wild stories and conspiracy theorists. So I want to go into a little bit about a conspiracy theory. So this is about the Hill family. So it's a couple named Barney and Betty Hill. Back in September 1961, 10:30 p.m. they had an alien encounter. Before that, I just want to point out the last names of these couple is Hill. We have a friend named Aiden, and his last name has Hill in it. I'm just wondering if this is like a distant relative. So Aiden, if you're watching, tell us.
Probably shouldn't out all of Aiden's personal information.
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar. It's okay. His name is not actually Aiden. It's Mitchell Stork. I'm just kidding. But anyways, so basically for Barney and Betty Hill, so they were on vacation. Now 1961, September 19, they were driving back. 10:30 p.m. They saw some lights in the sky, and they kept driving. Eventually, first they thought it was a falling star, like as you do when you see lights up in the sky back in 1961. And then they took out a binocular eventually, and they looked at it, but they realized that number one, It wasn't like airplanes or anything like that, because it was like a round, like pancake-shaped flying thing. And they kept driving, and all of a sudden the light noticed them, and they descended on their car, and then people came out, and they described these people as just men with dark suits wearing black hats. And they came out, and they were like, "Don't move. Just keep watching. Just keep looking. Don't move. Don't move." So they get freaked out, go back in the car, start driving away. It's like, it's Fast and Furious. And then all of a sudden they hear like this sound, this noise, this vibration, tinkling going through their bodies, and then they just had an altered consciousness, altered state of mind, and apparently they kept driving while not being aware of it. 35 miles later, they come back into consciousness, and they're like, "Whoa, what just happened? What just happened?" And then afterwards, it was a huge story, and everyone's like, "Whoa, these couple got abducted by aliens." So number one, I want to know, Wes, what is your take on that story? Is it some really, really good drugs, or is it like actual alien abduction? What do you think?
I think it's a lot of really, really good drugs.
There's a picture of these couple, and they don't look like the drug-taking type. They're like very old-fashioned.
I know a lot of people that don't look like the drug-taking type, but are very much the drug-taking type.
Oh yeah? You want to throw a couple names out there, man? Because
I'm not going to throw any names up, but hey, I'm assuming they didn't provide any physical evidence. This whole couple, I'm not going to provide any evidence of the people I know.
No, so basically, what evidence they have is that they did some psychological tests on it. They did these, what do you call it when you hypnotize someone? They did hypnotism therapy for it.
Yeah. Nobody knows what hypnotism is. It's really fucked up.
Right,
it's
exactly.
The power of suggestion is really weird.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. And I've never been hypnotized before, so I have no idea. But so basically, what happened when they went through hypnotism therapy was that they had recounts of the incident, but both of them, when we're recounting the story like in separate rooms, they had different accounts of it. So which further like goes to disprove this theory. But on the other end, we also have to ask, like, what if aliens actually did exist, came down, abducted these people, and made it so that like nobody would believe their stories, like just messed up their conscious states. So afterwards, when they recount it, no one's gonna believe them. Like, what if?
And that kind of brings us back with what you just said. Kind of brings us back to the God thing. Is that if there's so much like non-evidence there, like with them having different stories when they both do the regressive therapy, then at that point you just have to take it on faith, just like God,
right?
Because there's no actual evidence for God. There's just the faith thing,
right? Believe them or do not. Right.
Yeah. Drugs so for that particular story, there's many stories like that out there. Mm-hmm. But for that one especially, it just sounds like they took a lot of LSD and then just lost some time on the highway and somehow didn't crash.
It was the 60s. It was the 60s,
yeah. It was the 60s. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the kind of pancake shape, probably like flying saucer shape.
Yeah, and it was spinning. Yeah.
A lot. If you actually look at some of like when these stories come out, you can tell like the way people describe aliens changes from which science fiction movie is like popular at the time.
Really,
it's really interesting to see. Yeah.
Huh. So was there something before the pancake shape thing, or?
Well, during the 40s and 50s, I think there were a lot of alien invasion movies, and they all had the flying saucer aliens. Mm-hmm. And the reason they had the flying saucer aliens is because it was a cheap way to do practical effects for movies. It was easier. Yeah. It was low detail, really simple to do. They didn't have to do complex movements. They could just kind of move from one side of the screen to the other.
Right. Yeah.
And so that, but during that time, whenever people saw aliens or claimed they saw aliens, it was always about. They always looked like that.
Like a flying saucer, right? Yeah.
Like flying saucers, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. So, like, like you said, they might have taken acid. I just want to remark on the fact that, so acid, right, you don't have to know you're taking it to take it. So basically, it can be absorbed through skin contact. And I have the story where, like, one of my friends went to a festival, and then there was, like, some kind of EDM concert, and halfway through, somebody took an eyedropper and he dripped it on the top of his head. And it was like, what are you doing? And about 45 minutes later, he starts tripping balls. He didn't take any drugs. My guy doesn't take drugs. He just starts tripping out. He's just freaking out. It's like, what happened? What happened? Dear. And he looked it up afterwards, and apparently this guy was just going around with a dropper dropping on people's head and skin and, like, making them trip out and stuff.
That's horrible.
It was horrible. It was terrible. I'm sure it was very, very illegal. But basically that's what could have happened to these guys. You know, a lot of people who could have been like just like dosed with LSD didn't know what was going on, think they got kidnapped by aliens, but really it was somebody wanting to, you know, like mess up their day and just like have a prank on them. But yeah. Like, it was one of the possibilities. But still, like, I think what's so interesting about aliens is the fact that we would never be able to say for sure that they do not exist, and we also would not be able to disprove that they don't. Just like God, we can't disprove aliens have visited Earth. We can't scour every inch of the Earth and say nothing foreign came down. So,
there is something kind of interesting with that, and also what you say, you can't disprove it. And that's also kind of like the philosophy with a lot of people who think like that we're hiding aliens or alien technology at Area 51.
Which I'll believe that. I can't believe that, though. And like,
here's the thing, is that people who know whether or not that's true can't tell us whether or not that's true.
Right.
So if they say no to the conspiracy theorists, then the conspiracy theorists take it as, oh, it must be true because you're denying it.
Exactly.
No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to convince the conspiracy theorists that aliens aren't a thing in Area 51.
Yeah, there is a reason.
It's really kind of interesting. It's just,
It's just, hey, they don't let you in there, so that must mean they're hiding aliens. And all
they've got to be hiding aliens. That's the only explanation.
Exactly.
A top secret government and military technology development center.
Yeah.
It has to be aliens, obviously.
Right. I mean, on the opposite end. Yeah, on the opposite end, though, like you think about the advancement of human civilization. Like, we went from like using rocks and clubs to beat things to death to broadcasting stuff through our mobile phones, and we can do stuff that, you know, thousands of years ago would have been deemed witchcraft, and we would have been burned at stakes if we like called each other on our phone. So it's just like how far it progressed, and you know, you can't help but think sometimes like conspiracy theories will say this, and it's that what if we took all this technology from aliens? And that's why I think, like, I would believe if a government found aliens, they would hide it, is because any single country, any government worth their salt is going to be trying to keep that advanced technology for themselves and have like a sort of advantage over every other country. Like, any country would do that. The people that don't do that, like, number one, I think it's a little dumb. Number two, like, they must be very loving people, and I thank them. I don't think they exist in government, though.
I have a counter to that, and I agree that if they did encounter aliens, it would be prudent for them to keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be able to. Yeah, and I'm going to explain that with one point.
All right.
Right here.
All right, do it. Lay it on me, bro. Slather it on me. Give me that. Drop the mic on me.
Watergate.
Uh-huh.
The government couldn't cover up Watergate.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And people think that they are capable of covering up something as huge as contact with extraterrestrial life and technology.
Right.
And I just call bullshit on that.
Right. Well, here's a different thing about that, because Watergate was about like one person and his secret. But like on the other end, we have a lot of things that would help us hide the existence of aliens, aka these conspiracy theorists.
Exactly.
I think it's the people who like they advocate for alien existence. They're the best cover for aliens, because these guys sound like a couple of nutters, like just completely crazy people. Aliens exist, man. Aliens exist, bro. Like, just trust me. Aliens. Yeah. So when you hear those people like saying things about aliens, I think nobody would ever take aliens seriously. Some people just don't trust aliens just because like these crazy guys are advocating for it. So I think that would be a great cover. I'm not saying aliens exist and they're being covered, but I'm saying if they are, these guys that are trying to discover
that would be kind of an ingenious thing if that was just like your entire way of doing it. Right. But yeah, I think it all in all, if the government was hiding something like that from us,
right,
we would have found out by now. I don't think the government is that good at covering shit up. It's very clearly not, because if you look at the state of North Korea, North Korea is pretty fucking bad about covering shit up.
Right, yeah.
And like they're the ones that need to do it the most, and they're like still pretty bad at it.
Oh, throwing some shade to the North Koreans. Yo, all the North Koreans watching this right now are gonna be pissed, Wes. But
they don't have freedom. They're not going to be able to watch this. I'm sorry, North Korea.
You don't gotta, like, if there's anybody you don't have to apologize to ever, it's North Koreans. Like seriously, like everyone thought North Koreans would have these nukes, and if like America's made a movie about them, they're gonna launch nukes. Like no, they're not. Like Trump straight up called them like rocket boys, like called Kim Jong-un a rocket man, and Kim Jong-un just sat there and took it. And also like he started writing love letters to Trump afterwards. So like yeah, no, you don't have to apologize to North Korea. Like if you diss North Korea, Kim Jong-un's probably gonna send you like a love letter more than anything else. So
speaking of of Trump.
Yeah.
If we had if we had contact with aliens, and Trump got to the level of presidency,
oh god,
and presumably found out secrets, do you really think he'd be able to keep that shit a secret this long?
Dude, I would hope he has enough self-awareness to not say that, because if Trump ever said alien was real, he would be done. Actually, no, he probably wouldn't. He says some much worse things. Yeah, no, he
wouldn't.
He wouldn't. No one takes him seriously. They probably wouldn't even care. They probably showed him the first day of presidency. Like, hey, Trump, by the way, like, Martians are real. And they're like, oh, shit. Should I tell everybody? It's like, oh, will they believe you? Do you want to sound like an idiot? I was like, no more than I already doing that.
No one has done more for the extraterrestrials than me.
Than I do, yeah. Oh, it's hilarious.
Huge. They called me huge fan.
Yeah, huge fan of aliens, man. Yeah, we're gonna do a deal with them. We're gonna do the best. It's gonna be the best deal in the history of the universe. You're so good. That was not a Trump impression that I was doing, but yeah. Basically,
before we get on to the next question, I do want to thank all 6 people who are watching us right now.
Thanks so
Every
much.
little bit helps.
Thanks so much, everybody. Yeah, hey, awesome. Every little bit. Damn, you sound like you're begging for stuff. Every little bit helps, guys.
Please watch our show, please. I'm tired over here.
I'll take my shirt off. I'll put a naked lady up.
How is little Timmy going to afford his shoes?
Exactly, guys. Yeah, subscribe and like for Timmy. You know, like little Timmy. You always gotta help little Timmy. But okay, yeah. Well, in that case, after
we get up to 10 viewers, I'll let Riley out of his cage.
Oh no, come on! I thought it was a joint decision, man. Like Riley's got to earn it. Like, if we keep him out of the cage, how are we gonna get him back in, Wes? You got to think about how we get him back in. Haven't thought about the smell. No, yeah. But anyways,
well, we got a little off topic, but
right, yeah. North Korea, Trump, and then Riley. Hi, Riley. Yeah. Love you, man.
Yeah,
love you.
So aliens.
Yeah, aliens. Exactly. So I was about to ask like Wes though, because like a lot of people have stories about aliens because they've seen weird things in their life. Like I personally have like a whole story about aliens, but first I want to ask like Wes, have you personally like yourself seen anything that would make you think that there's extraterrestrial life, or seeing anything that's like, whoa, I can't explain that. That might be aliens.
Like in terms of like physical proof, or just like a personal experience that I've had?
Personal experience that you've had. You've seen something like that's really weird and like, whoa, aliens, bro, aliens.
I mean, I think we all, when we're really little, have something like that. Have some sort of experience that's we can't explain because don't have.
Yeah.
I can't recall a singular experience.
Mm-hmm.
Myself that was like that.
Right. No, like people visiting in the middle of the night.
The only thing I could. I'm really pulling here. This is a real reach, but I frequently, and I still do, but especially when I in like elementary school and middle school, I frequently had dreams where I would basically kind of more or less have like a version of 7 League Boots.
Huh.
But I would be able to fly, but I was really just every step I took, I would like hover like 2 feet off the ground,
right, and
just move vast distances, and that was like how I moved. I had multiple dreams like that, and I was always in the same place. I was always in my elementary school. My elementary school's like recess area, like the field.
Really?
Yeah,
man.
And I even when I have, because I still have the dream every once in a while. But I still imagine it in that field too, which is really weird. That's the only thing that I could guess I could kind of maybe ascribe to
supernatural, man.
Possibly being like it's. But I don't think that. I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
that's
society
not the
has
way my mind
you down. It's like society's like, no, your imagination is false. It can't be real. Have you seen the movie Insidious, bro? Like
Insidious?
Yeah. And,
no, I have not.
Okay, so, well, I'm gonna do a tiny bit of a spoiler, which is not really, but, you know, there are future people who can, like, well, actually, no, let's go to Game of Thrones. Wargs. Like, you know, people can project themselves out of their body, and they can kind of fly around, all that stuff. Like, that, like people think that because I think people had dreams just like yours, and I've never had like the out of body thing. Like when I dream and I'm flying, going distances, I would always know like eventually this is a dream. But I think having recurring dreams like that, I think it means something. Like your subconsciousness is trying to tell you something, or maybe Wes, you are a remnant of a bygone
Freudian
era.
idea,
yeah. You might actually be a warg, bro. You might actually be like somebody who can just project yourself out. And I think that's pretty cool, bro. Yeah, like if you ever get that skill down,
I'll become king of Westeros at the last minute.
That's
without any real explanation.
That's a whole nother topic that we shouldn't probably get into because I'm still very salty about that. Why couldn't they put like tier? Never mind. But like,
we'll really be here forever, and we'll really get off track if we go down that path. I'm sorry for even bringing that up.
I'm really no. It's a good topic. Like I'm dying to talk about that. It's just God, what were they thinking?
Have you had what kind of experience have you had? You asked me what kind of experience I had.
Good.
You brought possibly having like a out of body or alien contact or whatever experience, supernatural experience.
Right.
Have you had anything like that?
Yeah. Actually,
could not be explained.
Yeah. So
and then I'm gonna so I can promptly ruin it and explain it for you.
So this is this happened right at home, like Reno High School. Like we went to this place called Reno High School. Don't look it up.
Okay.
No. All 6 people like that are watching probably knows like where we've been at the high school. They probably went there with us. But anyway, so Reno High School. I was in band one day.
Stop giving out all our information.
No, I would never stop. Not until the internet knows everything about us. What's his penis inches is. I'm just kidding. But basically we're in band class, stayed a little bit after class, and then all that, and then one of the parents was outside staring at the sky for whatever reason, and she's like, "Yo, what are those things? Like, are they doing like a dance?" She was looking right up. It's like, "Are they doing a dance or something? Like, what kind of formation is that?" And I was like, "What's this lady smoking? And like, can I get some?" And so I went outside, and like a bunch of the band kids who stayed went outside, and we all looked up in the sky. And we couldn't see anything. Like for a while, she's like, "Yeah, like these things. Can you see them like dancing? These are little white discs, like way up there, and they're just dancing in formations. And there's like a mothership. It's like a big thing, and there's just like little dots dancing around it." And I was like, "I can't see it." And eventually, somebody else sees it, and they're like, "Oh, I see it. It's right there." And she points to it, and then like another person sees it, and eventually, I was like, "You're crazy." But then I see it. Like I see these like little like flecks of little bits of white way up there, so it's way higher than any plane should be able to reach, because planes like up a certain level they can't fly anymore because there's no air resistance. It's way up there, like it's super high. There's little round like just like disc looking white dots way up in the sky, and they were doing formations, and they were doing like this like kind of like little arrow formation, and they were moving, and we were all looking at the same thing, and it was nothing like anything we've ever seen before. Like it's not like a plane, it's not like a RC like a drone. Like back then drones hadn't existed, but even if they do, how did they get that high up there? And like eventually they would just like kind of did enough formations, and we were all watching this, like 4 or 5 of us watching this, and then eventually it just leaves. It just kind of like flies way up till we can't see it anymore. And I've never been able to find out why. Like I went online and I looked up like air shows over Reno. Like that's where we live. I shouldn't give that out. But yeah, air shows over like the area that we lived in. And I could find nothing on it, like no weather balloons, like no information whatsoever. But the thing is, like I saw it for myself, and it wasn't anything too big. It was just like these random objects flying in the sky that looks like nothing I've ever seen before that's flying in the sky. So that's just my random encounter, and I couldn't help but think, aliens, bro. Like, what? Like, what do you think? What do you think, man? Like, am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I think you're human.
Right.
And the reason I say I think the power of suggestion is a really powerful force. Mm-hmm. And I think humans are really susceptible to it, right, especially in large groups. Mm-hmm. I think that through no faults of your own or your class,
right,
your teacher was either trying to fuck with you or legitimately thought she saw something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then basically stuck to it long enough to where you guys believed her and saw it yourselves.
Right.
That is my take.
Right.
That is my take from what you experienced, mm-hmm, and that is my take basically 100% of the time for anything like that.
Right.
Because I don't think. There's this. This kind of leads into it. The thing I found before this chat when we were talking about possible like anecdotes,
right,
was I found alien therapy.
Alien therapy,
which is basically hypno-regressive therapy by a. Let me look at the name of the title this person goes by.
Right.
They go by a clinical hypnotherapist. So that's funny. But basically, she hypnotizes and does hypno-regressive therapy for patients who claim they have been abducted by aliens, and she basically, through the power of suggestion, whether she realizes it or not, reaffirms those beliefs because of the condition of hypnosis and the way that she phrases the questions. And I think that you got like the light version of that, whether that was done purposefully or not.
Right. Well, here's the thing, though. It's just like I'm a huge skeptic on hypnotism. I don't think it's real.
Most
I think
people are.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a good reason why, right? It's because like I'm a conscious person. I know what I saw. And the thing is, like, I get what you mean. Like, that's totally a possibility. I could have been just pulled into this thing, but like for me, from my perspective, though, I know what I saw, and like I would never believe that I was hypnotized because, like it wasn't like she was like, oh, there's an alien, it looks like this, it looks like that. She's like, no, it's up there, and then like eventually, like I saw it, and it wasn't because like I didn't see it before. It wasn't because I didn't believe it. It was because it was really small, high up, like tiny dots high up in the sky. You could see it. It's very, very visible. But to the point where like, well, one thing is like I could have been persuaded by the power of persuasion, but like what I thought at the time was just like the government's like had some advanced flying prototypes that we don't know about. Like that was the first thing that I thought of. Like it wasn't aliens. But like for me, like because I seen it and because I still remember what I see, and we've all like sort of seen the same thing, but she didn't describe it in vivid detail. She told us where, like approximately where it is, and when another person found it, I was able to sort of triangulate with the two of them pointing. I was able to sort of see where it is. But yeah, it was little dots in the sky. I think I would much rather believe the government had like some like flying prototypes they were working on, rather than the fact that hypnotism is real to the point where it can actually cause hallucinations. And just to give anybody a little bit of background, like hallucinogenic like stuff. I've had experiences with that in the past. I went to college, but I've known what it's like to actually have your perceptions changed. Wes is laughing like that. Y'all know what that means. But yeah, like I know what it's like to have your perception like actually altered, like what that process feels like. But like, and it feels very much different from something that you see. It's like I don't know, the way I found it was just I was looking at things. I was looking at these white discs at a bright sky, and it was just very hard to see. So I think the reason I saw it mentioned it was because like it was very small, it's hard to see, and I found it. Like since I know what it's like to have my perception altered, like I would be able to say right then it wasn't an altered perception, because I don't think hypnotism works in such a way, or suggestion works in such a way that you can actually see something like that. So I'd much rather believe it was just
I would disagree. I don't think it necessarily needs to be I don't think it necessarily needs to be hypnotism. I think that people are very susceptible for stuff like that. Whether despite the experience you've had of like of you knowing what hallucinogenics do to you.
Right.
I don't think that is necessarily. I don't think that your knowledge of that necessarily excludes you from the power of suggestion over you.
Yeah. I get that too. I get that too.
Yeah. And I'm nobody really knows exactly what hypnotism is.
Right.
Like from a real perspective. Hang on. But it's, I don't know. That kind of thing. Here's the thing with the alien abduction thing and your experience, is that yes, I believe that you had that experience. I'm not going to deny that.
Well, yeah, there's no reason to
whether it was actually aliens or something else or whether it was just a trick being played on your mind is entirely up for debate.
Right. I don't know if it's up for debate, man. Like, here's the thing. There's two aspects of this argument. And so number one, we could have debated what I saw, like what it was. If it's aliens or if it's like actually something technology. But like there's also a totally different path which you took, which is, did you see what you see? So that's like two separate parts. And I think when you say, did you see what you see? I think that's a little bit, because like... there's no way to tell, like, unless you can go in my memories and see exactly what I saw, right?
Well, this is why the
person out there, like, we would like just swear on our lives that we've seen that. And like for me, like I pretty much just, you know, I know what I saw. Like I don't think I'm a very like easily persuaded person, and like the way it happened and what it was just like, it wasn't I was being hypnotized. It was there was some shit actually flying in the sky, but I just didn't know what it was. Right. Yeah. I think instead of saying like you imagine that shit, we should probably think like, what was that I saw? And I think that's where people deviate, right? Like and people who like, what was that I saw? Aliens? Nah.
And I think that's, and I think in another kind of slightly different angle of that, I believe that you, like I said, I believe that you had that experience and that you saw something. I believe that you remember seeing something.
Right.
But when it comes to like evidence of something like that, of whether it's God or aliens or the Illuminati or whatever, is that all these experiences are all the most evidence they have going for them are eyewitness accounts and personal feelings and experiences.
Right.
And evidence shows us that human experience and eyewitness accounts are really, really unreliable.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
so if there was actual
fine,
like physical, if we saw like physical proof of something, including your, we can't anymore because it's so far back.
It's gone. Yeah.
But if there was like some physical experience, or physical evidence, of that, then I would be like, okay, we should investigate this. Okay. If I had the experience that you had, let me put it this way: if I actually was persuaded into, or from, because this is what I think still happened, is that if I saw something, if I thought I saw something, then what I would have thought was, oh, I was influenced by outside forces into seeing something.
Really? Because I'm not sure that would be the case. It's because. Like you see, that's what
I would think if I couldn't find a physical explanation for it or physical evidence of something there.
You would think you
imagined it? Then I would be like, okay, then I imagined it with my friends, with my classmates and my teacher. That's what I would think happened.
Right. I think that's where it differs between you and me, because like for me, like I for sure know something is there. So like my question isn't did I imagine that? My question is what did I see, right? And I'm not saying it's aliens, but like it's something that was unexplained, and I think that's like how the whole concept of aliens came about. Is we see something, and we can't explain it. But I don't think it's like too. I don't think it's too like constructive to just say like, well, you imagined it. I think it would be a lot more like constructive to say like, well, like what could it have been, right? Because it would like, because here's the thing, like I take issue with the fact that the thing is like you're right about eye accounts. Like you don't know like them. You're not there with them. You didn't see what you see. But when you actually see something like that, and you're convinced that it was there, because like again, like I was hypnotized into that. I don't think that stuff exists, and it wasn't just me. That was the main thing. It was someone like, so it wasn't a teacher. It was like a parent. Like she saw it, and then I saw it, and then like a couple of like students like came out and then they saw it too. And it wasn't just me. It was just me. Like sure, like it might be persuaded in that way, but it was like.
I think that's actually evidence of it. I think that's actually even more evidence of it appearing on the opposite end, in my opinion. Actually.
Okay, well, let me do a comparison then. Okay, so like you see a monkey standing in the middle of the street. You're like, Mom, come outside, there's a monkey standing in the middle of the street. And then Mom's coming outside, there's a monkey. Like, what's a monkey doing there? And Dad comes out, there's a monkey in there. And then the monkey runs away, and it's never seen again. And then you're telling me the story, dude, I saw a monkey in the street. I was like, where's this monkey? Did you take a picture? It's like, no. It's like, what? How do you know there was a monkey in there in the first place? Well, my mom saw it. My dad saw it. It's like, well, your mom and dad saw it, so that must mean that there must be more evidence.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a monkey in the street. We're talking about
things in the air. Exactly, it was something in the air.
You might have seen. Yeah.
And we live in an age where there's drones, where there's airplanes, and where there's things that can fly. There was air balloons, weather balloons, things that are way up there in the sky. So it's not inconceivable that there are these random flying objects in the sky, right? It was. It's just not conceivable to say that they are aliens. Like, we can't back up that they're aliens. But like, I don't think we should debate whether or not there were objects in the sky. We live in an age where like we went into space, into the moon.
No, I think it's I will say it's entirely possible that you guys actually did see something.
Right.
In terms of like.
Well, like that wasn't what I wanted to debate about. It wasn't whether or not I saw it. Like it was there. I saw it. The thing I wanted to debate about was what could it have been, right? Like that was the thing. Like I didn't want to throw into question like my validity as like a witness or something. Like me witnessing this event, you're like, well, you might be crazy.
Then I'll actually transition into this then. Yeah. If in fact you did see something, there was something there,
right?
You don't have any physical proof of it. So
well, that brings us back to the monkey problem, right? You have like I don't see the monkey.
But I know monkeys exist.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen photos of
monkeys. We know flying objects exist. So I know flying objects like exist, but you couldn't pin down what flying object it was. Right, exactly. And just because I don't know what flying object it is doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like an animal, an unclassified species, a monkey goes in front of you. Like, oh, it's a monkey. Well, what kind of monkey was it? Orangutan? Like tree monkey? Like was it the Lion King one that holds up Simba? It's like I've never seen that before. Well, it must be.
That's a baboon.
Right, it's a baboon. Right, exactly. But if I didn't know what baboon was, like I could have just said, well, you just made that word up and it doesn't exist. Anyways.
You brought up something about the fact that it might be our imagination doesn't necessarily help anybody, and it doesn't kind of like stops the argument, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, it does stop the argument. That's what's so frustrating about it. Is it kind of like invalidates what you've seen, like.
But I mean, at the same time, is that how? In what other way do you prove that? Other than your own eyewitness account.
I don't think it's about proof. I think it's more about like a person's experience and what do you think led to that? Because
I don't think that's valid when you're talking about something like aliens or anything like that.
Right. But like it's maybe not in the sense that it will prove or disprove aliens, but it's valid in the sense that people see something and they can't prove it. And there's two groups of people. Number one saying that you're crazy. What you've seen is not there. You imagined it. And there's another group saying that maybe it's true. Let's dive into what you could have seen, right? And I think that second group might have been good because like after you try to research it and then like I think after deep dive in it, then you can say it was imaginary. But I think to just dismiss it out of hand, just say like you can't prove it, there's no pictures, and like this doesn't sound like anything I know, so you must have imagined it. Like I think that's like a little unfair, like, and it feels
I can see that. I can't really attest to this particular experience. But I can bring up a different example about something that has been disproven.
Right.
That people still believe in.
Yeah. I do.
There are a lot of people who have near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And they invariably describe the same kind of thing of being kind of like in a tunnel with white light.
Right.
Coming towards you,
and
that's their near-death experience. Like people who have like been legally, like technically dead, clinically dead for like more than a minute on the operating table,
right?
Or right after an accident or something like that, have these experiences. So for a little bit, for not long, but for a little bit, there was this. Basically, everybody had the same kind of experience of like going through this tunnel and seeing this white light, and so there was this big group of people, and there still is this big group of people that think that was them like on like in like the gateway to heaven, like about to go into the afterlife. But what the interesting thing about this is that it was the way they test pilots for really high intensity situations, is they put them in that big, basically like the human centrifuge kind of thing.
Yeah. And they spin them.
And they spin them, and they found that under that stress, they experience the same exact thing. And what it actually is that your oxygen deprived brain creates the same kind of injury when you're deprived of oxygen.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually it wasn't actually you going near the gateway to heaven or having a near death. Well, you were near death, so but having this like religious, spiritual near death experience. But it was actually a chemical thing that happened in your brain because your brain was deprived of oxygen.
Right.
And so I think that kind of like being able to recreate the situation that brings something like that about.
Yeah.
Is something you can do. What I mean by your personal experience being invalid in a scientific sense is that there's no way to recreate that experience.
Right. Okay. Well, actually, I'm glad you brought up that example because, like, what you were like trying to say with my experience was more that, well, when people dive in to see the white light, well, they imagine the white light because I can't see the white light. The white light, we haven't defined the white light. But like afterwards, after diving into it, we realized that well, it's because the endorphins flushing your brain or whatever, or you're lacking oxygen. So there exists a white light. These people did not see it. It's just we didn't know what it was before. So from the time that this guy saw the white light to the time they discovered the reason for the white light, during this whole time, you could just invariably say these guys imagined the white light. But turns out they didn't. I'm just saying, like, during this whole time when you couldn't possibly say that they imagined it without any solid proof, and your only reason is that God doesn't exist, I don't believe in God, and that, like, I haven't seen the white light's not defined. Like, if during this whole time you can say that, I think it's very unfair to the person who saw the white light, right? There's a reason for it. So I'm saying that, like, because right now we can't actually recreate the situation where, like, you can't go in my head and see what exactly that I saw, but that doesn't disprove that and see it. But what I think we should argue about, like, instead, what I think we should dive into was why these people see the white light, and I think that's a lot more constructive than just like disagreeing the white light exists in the first place. Because afterwards, we found out that high gravity like causes the white light. We figured out why by asking it. But if you say that your experience is invalid because you imagined it, we're stopping the argument right there, and we're saying that it's not worth looking into. Like, you're crazy, and what you said we saw wasn't real. Like, and that's
if I sounded like that, I apologize. I did not mean to actually make it sound like that. But what my point is that we can't recreate the situation in which you saw what you saw.
Well, not yet. Like, when these guys died and had the white light.
We are not the kind of people equipped to do that. But what I'm saying is that in a similar situation, if I told you that there was a pink unicorn standing next to me right now, you would have no reason to believe me if I just told you from my eyewitness account.
Well, here's the thing. A pink unicorn is a pink unicorn, but what I saw is little white discs in the sky. And little white discs in the sky is not inconceivable. A unicorn is something out of fantasy novel, right? Little discs in the sky could be anything. Like, it could be a drone, it could be a government weather balloon, it could be anything like that. And
it doesn't. But my point is, it doesn't
really.
It doesn't really matter what it is if we can't recreate it.
That doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter what it is, we can't recreate it. Okay, so basically, like, okay, the only thing I'm saying is that I don't think it's constructive at all for you to for you to say, like, my experience was imaginary. Like, it's not whether or not, like, I saw it. Like, the question is, what did I see? That's the thing. And I think stopping that argument right there by saying you imagined it, so we shouldn't talk about what you see, is just, I don't know, it's a little weird, man, because number one, like, I know I'm not crazy, buddy. Like, I know 100% I'm not crazy. I didn't say you're crazy. Like, it wasn't that I looked in the sky and then there was nothing there, and then my mind put something there because, like, someone's suggestion, right? It was because I looked up in there, and my optical nerves picked up on movement in the sky, and, like, my brain processed the image, and turns out there were little flecks of stuff in the sky, and it was very, very high up, very hard to see, and, like, it's something that existed. So, like, I'm not trying to debate what I saw, buddy. I'm not trying to debate, like, if I saw it or not. I'm trying to see, like, what it is up in the sky that I perceive, right? So, like, it's not about my conscious state that we're debating here. It's about the flying objects in the sky. And the reason I brought it up actually was not to debate, like, my conscious state. It was actually to suggest that we see things that normal people like you and me can't explain. Like, maybe a weather scientist comes up here and they say, well, what you saw was a weather balloon experiment, and you've seen. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but basically how people measure atmospheres. They pump, like, a balloon up way into the sky, and as it goes, it expands, and it tells atmospheric pressure. So it goes way high up there. It goes to a point where no airplane is, and so that's part of the thing. Part of what I thought that might have been, because, like, eventually they started floating out of sight, and weather balloons, the more they expand, the more they go up. They go up, and it could have just been like some kind of weather experiment. But here's the thing. As people on the ground, we don't know the scientific background behind it. We don't know the people who planned that stuff. So we're gonna see that. We're gonna see, like, object in the sky. It doesn't look like anything we know. It's not a plane. It's a little round thingy, which might be balloons. But, like, you know, it's moving in a certain order. We can't explain. We don't know the background. So some people are just gonna say aliens. Like, it's not a plane. Yeah. It's not a man. It's not Superman. So it might be that. So that's the point that I want to go to. Not like whether or not I was being duped into thinking there was stuff.
I apologize for that big deviation.
No, it's still fun. I get what you mean, but it is frustrating to see something, to remember something, and have someone, like, question the validity of that. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's actually brings us to a good point. That's why a lot of people vehemently, like, just defend aliens, right? Some people, like, think they're abducted, and maybe they had an experience that made them think that they are. But most people, what do they tell them, right? You're crazy. Aliens didn't exist. You weren't probed by an alien. Like, an alien didn't take your virginity, which was an actual story, by the way, right? And what does it make them do? They're like, bro, but I had that experience. Like, who are you to tell me that I didn't have that experience? So they defended more and more. I think that's what creates this whole like alien culture, like in us. One point is people's imagination. Another point is the unbelievers, people who don't think these guys are real, and that creates like a circle where they're just defending aliens' existence more and more. Yeah. And I think that's how alien like culture came to be, right? Yeah. Creativity plus suppression and disbelief.
I can't remember who quoted who said this, but it's a quote that I very much live by. Is that come up with an idea, doesn't matter how crazy.
Yeah.
Stick to your guns, and you'll eventually come up with a following.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's it's basically how it works. Mm-hmm. Like if your conviction is strong enough, if your conviction is strong enough, then people will eventually follow you and believe you're right. And I think that's true for anything, and especially with the alien community. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Naruto
people who believe that they are abducted and stuff, who were abducted by aliens and stuff like that.
All right.
Because there is this kind of like like I said in the very first video we did actually is that there's this like group. There's this subsection of people who go to like basically like alien abduction support groups,
right,
where they all talk about their own personal experiences being abducted by aliens. But really, all it does is just reinforces the idea that you were abducted by an alien.
Right.
So you can't, and there's no room for like saying, "Hey, I don't think that's right. I don't think you had that experience."
Right.
And I don't mean, and I apologize earlier, X, if earlier I was talking about how I was saying you didn't have that experience.
Right.
My point wasn't that I don't believe that you saw that, or I don't believe that there might have actually been something there.
Right. Your point was that it wasn't real.
My point, huh?
Your point was that it wasn't real, right? That like it was something.
No. That's not either. I'm not saying it could have been real. It could have been something there.
Right. And I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you saying that it could have been real. Like that's the main thing.
No, there could have actually been something there. But the point is that kind of thing is the kind of thing like you didn't say you don't believe in aliens because of that experience.
No, I thought it was
no, you didn't think it was an alien aircraft.
Yeah, it was some kind of like weather project.
But that kind of story that you had.
Yeah.
Is the same kind of story that permeates throughout the alien abduction community.
Right. And I get that too, the category
people take something like that and like and take that as gospel and take that as like hardcore 100% can't be disproven evidence.
Right.
And what my point was, and I apologize if I poorly articulated this earlier.
Right.
But basically is that kind of evidence isn't solid evidence because the human account of things is so unreliable.
Right.
And time again, it has been shown to be unreliable.
Right. No, I know what you mean. Like stories like that,
recreatable experiments and recreatable situations are what can prove something.
Right. I think you mean like observations rather than like recreation of experiments. Yeah. So like you observe it twice, right? If I pull you outside and like you see outside, you see those discs, and then I think you would also like believe what I said, which it was just kind of weird because like in an age where we have spacecraft, like I'm having somebody question the fact that I saw something in the sky. It's like we're in the 1800s.
I didn't mean for it to. I didn't mean for it to. Sound like that.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's just like I kind of got, and I like from that though understood sort of the frustrations of people who really believe they see an alien but have everyone say that they're crazy. Like it gave me a glimpse into that, and like because it doesn't matter if aliens exist or not. I think we all agree like aliens does exist. I just don't think they've made contact with us or are on Earth. I think that's where we both stand. But the second thing is just like people see things that are unbelievable, and do people believe them about it? And that's the thing. So I think some people who think they're probed, I think a lot of those guys might have been molested. Might have straight up been molested by people, and they were high on drugs.
I don't want to get into a whole Freudian thing about it possibly being that they're actually molested.
No, I'm just saying no, not masking it. I'm just saying like maybe they had drugs or something, and they actually think they were molested by aliens, but really it was like Scoutmaster Brian or something. But
that's what I mean by masking. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well,
like whether they were doing
it
or not, whether they're doing it on purpose or not.
Yeah. I think masking is that if you know it's actually real, but you make yourself think it's aliens. But I'm just saying there's a case out there that someone probably really thought
there's an actual term for it. I should know this.
Yeah. Anyways, get back to me when we remember it. But basically, so like, I think we both agree on one point, though. And, like, I by no means think I saw aliens on that day. I just think there was some... like, it was some, like, astronomy, like, experiment or, like, some weather experiment. I think that was it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was unexplainable, and I couldn't find anything, because why the fuck would, like, the government department in charge of that project post it all over the news? Like, they're trying to test the weather and atmosphere. So that's why I didn't find it, right? So I think that's why. I have no doubt that I saw what I saw, and I have no doubt that it was actually there. It's just I don't know what it is, and that's my frustration. I couldn't find any things online.
No, I very much approached that from a different angle, and I apologize.
Right?
But
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's just a little frustrating being like, you know, I know what I see, but like you're clearly telling me like I was under hypnosis or something. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not. So that's where I was. But basically, so I think where we both stand is that aliens exist. They're out there somewhere. I don't think they're on Earth. Like you clearly say like they're not on Earth. Otherwise, government wouldn't shut the hell up about it, right? But basically, so that brings up to my actually final question. I just want to go through this real quick. Is that, you know, alien life most likely exist, and people like Norwegians in 2017, they started beaming information, as in electronic music and geometry, into space to try to reach aliens, which I thought was dumb because number one, like a lot of people hate electro music. Number two, geometry. Like, who here likes geometry? I hated it. I don't know, Wes, do you like geometry?
No, geometry class is when I started doing bad at math.
Exactly. People hate that stuff. And eventually you have to write essays in geometry. You have to prove like why things are what. So geometry sucks. And they're beaming. Yeah, Norwegians, they're beaming this stuff to outer space. Like if anyone sees like humanity message, they're gonna see electromusic and geometry, which does not encapsulate who we are. It doesn't. Yeah, but this thing keeps happening, right? It's not just Norwegians. It's the United States doing the same thing. China's doing the same thing. I'm pretty sure Russia's doing the same thing. But yeah, so we're all trying to reach out to aliens. But what I want to ask you is, what do you think? Should we be asking for? Should we be reaching out to aliens? Like, is there a risk? And like, if aliens can perceive our signal, like, how are they going to react? Are we going to have a Mass Effect future where we get to embrace eternity with like with these sexy hot aliens, or are we going to have Independence Day where they just descend upon us and make us into their slaves? So why wouldn't they? Right? We're a bunch of monkeys. What do you think?
I think there are so many possibilities with alien life that you really like no version of that is necessarily like safe. But I don't think it's a fruitless endeavor. I think it's something that is kind of a cool idea. And if we contact something some way, then cool. We can debate the ethics of it when we get annihilated later.
when we get there.
But I don't think it's inherently doing harm at the moment. No, I think it's kind of a cool thing because it's basically just something about like radio waves and shit like that or something like that, right? Yeah,
eventually it'll bounce back too, because like some of these bounce back maybe like thousands of years from now, and we'll get it. We get to hear like geometry and music, the Norwegians being bout. But actually, I wanted to share real quick.
That actually, you know what you
just cut off Stephen Hawking.
Just talked about is actually the sorry.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Yeah.
There actually is a plot of a Futurama episode. That the radio waves from an old 1999 TV show finally hit the Omicronians' planet.
Right.
Like 1,000 years later. And so, but the TV show gets canceled and they end up invading Earth because their TV show was canceled 1,000 years later.
Yeah. Right. Invasion of Earth.
I don't think, like, no matter what, I think, you know, I don't think there's really a realistic way I can answer that question. In terms of what evidence exists right now.
Right. Oh, man, you're talking so much evidence. No, it's okay. It's hot. You're talking so much evidence today. I was like, as Alien, you can't talk evidence if you want to like discuss aliens. Otherwise, like we stop the conversation at the first minute. There is no evidence of aliens, so let's end the show right there. Like I think we can
debate the philosophy of it all day. I'm saying it's like in terms of proof, it's the same thing with God.
Right, I know, and I think that's the same thing. Like, if you say that, you wouldn't be able to discuss God at all, because you just stop it at the beginning. But what I wanted to cover, it's just like in a scenario, right? Like, cause we're in an age where Star Wars movies are a thing, like Marvel movies are a thing. Like, we're in an age where like people are wildly imagining things, and I think it's fun to extrapolate out what would happen when there's aliens. So let me bring it back to Stephen Hawking, right? So Stephen Hawking, like when like God rest his soul, if God exists, which according to evidence, and Wesley does not, but But yeah, so Stephen Hawking, right? He warned us to stop reaching out to aliens. So this guy was like, don't reach out. This smart, really smart guy, and he had his reasons. That advanced civilizations might put us in risky situations. So there's a high risk of contacting a civilization that is capable of receiving radio waves, just like us, because. Like for me personally, right? I have like a whole opinion on this, which is that if we reach out to an alien organization, it'll go south. It'll turn sour. Because number one, look at humanity. We have this one planet, right? It's a huge planet. It's in the middle of nowhere. Like we're the only ones on it. We're the only life as far as we know in this galaxy, in the Milky Way. And we can't stop killing each other. We can't stop like going on territories. We can't we're fighting for resources, even though there's plenty of it. We start fighting for excess. We started fighting for like technology. Like we dominate. Like as a species, we dominate. We've dominated Earth. We're above the food chain. So that's why I think like sentient life, for us to get to this point, like we did it by stepping on the throats of all the other species, right? We hunted elephants. We got better at hunting elephants. We started like getting better and better at using tools. And I think any species that got to this kind of intellect did it through like a huge, very, very harmful trial, a very, very like life or death trials, to the point where like the most intelligent wins or the most strong wins. So the planets with the strong win, we don't have to worry about those. We don't have to worry about grunt. But the planets where they eventually fought and the people who were smartest, they came out on top. I think in that situation, like it's very dangerous, because if they see Earth, I think they would view us as how we view them, like another planet full of resources and technology, another place for us to conquer. So I think like if we reach out to Earth, it's cool. Like if we reach out to aliens, it's cool. If we make contact, shut that off, man. Shut that off. Like make sure we have enough defenses to like defend ourselves, and then keep talking. Because we're like as humanity, as far as humanity goes, and as far as empathy goes, like on some aspects, we're kind of shitty. We're really shitty in some ways. Like, yeah. And
we're far from perfect. I won't deny that.
Exactly. And I think when power and money and wealth and resources are involved, we always resort to our baser instinct. Like even now, there's war breaking out over resources, like in the Middle East, and there's like conflicts happening everywhere. Like it's when it comes to resources and power. Like I think without a doubt, we resort to our basic instincts, and that's why I think reaching out to those guys.
I'll disagree with you on that. I'll disagree with you on that in the sense that maybe we do on a leadership level, on a collective level, but not on an individual level.
Oh yeah, exactly.
On an individual level, we're all way less violent than we used to be.
Exactly.
We're all much kinder to each other than we used to be.
Exactly.
And that's the philosophy I live by, which is why I don't trust the government. But
that's smart. That's smart. We can agree on that.
I don't care who it is. I don't care if Trump's in charge or Biden's in charge or whoever's in charge. I don't trust them.
Can't trust them. Bunch of lying ninnies. Yeah. Yeah, but I think if you look at politicians,
but anyway, but in terms of whether or not it's dangerous to do that, with what Stephen Hawking said,
right?
I don't think we know enough. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Philosophically, I think either side could be debated, whether it's safe or not, because there could be maybe the aliens.
People. Whoa, Wes, do you know something that I don't? You already called them the people. You're trying to make me think I believe.
The reason I'm trying to shut all this down is because I actually have talked to aliens, and I have them on. I'm the only one communicating.
You're trying to block it. That makes sense.
Actually, shut this shit down.
Trying to make me think I'm crazy.
Get way to hand.
That's right, guys. Everybody, just Wes knows aliens. Yeah. That's funny though. But I think Stephen Hawking, right? He's a physics guy.
Don't trust Kellogg's. It's a bad brand.
Kellogg's is the reason like Americans circumcise themselves. Look this up. Like the founder of like Kellogg brand cereal, like is why like a lot of people are circumcised, even though they're not Jewish. This is a topic for another day. But I think Stephen Hawking thinks in absolute terms.
Because I have a lot to say about that too.
Yeah. But why don't we have tips on our dicks? But yeah, so Stephen Hawking, he thinks in absolute terms. He thinks in mathematical terms, which is if we reach like a civilization out there, like before we had no risks of alien invasion or like anything like that. Might be good, might be bad, but there's risks involved. But as soon as we discover a different civilization, the risk becomes real. So like the benefits might increase, but overall risks increase for sure. So I think that's what it means. It's risky for us.
Yeah.
It's risky.
Well, okay. In that okay. Well, I'm going to say in the same vein of philosophy, then, as soon as you light something on fire, then you're at 100% more risk for being set on fire yourself.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's what Stephen Hawking means. Yeah.
Like I mean, that's the same train of thought. Is assuming that if that's what his train of thought is, then I don't agree with that. Like, mathematically, yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
But but at the same time, that the rationale for that is basically, or becomes, we shouldn't try.
Mm-hmm. Right, no. He doesn't say we shouldn't try. He doesn't say we shouldn't try.
He doesn't say we shouldn't try.
He said we should be cautious. Wait, let me see. Yeah. So he warned us to stop reaching out to aliens, right? Actually, yeah. It sounds like he said he doesn't try. But yeah, because the risk might be too much. But I was hoping Stephen Hawking would mean something like, I hope, I don't know, is that like we need to be prepared. Like if we ever reach like sentient life in the universe, like let's do it. I think what Stephen Hawking said is, what Stephen Hawking thinks, I wouldn't presume, but I guess, is that he thinks the way that we are, and if civilization is capable of perceiving radio signals, like there exists a huge risk of us just being wiped out. And for him, like from his point of view, I get it. But I also agree with you with the fact that just because that's a possibility doesn't mean we should stop trying. But so on one hand, I believe is empirical in the fact that risks increase if we...
I will not debate that at all. That is absolutely true.
Right, you can't disagree with him on that.
If you set something on fire that's right next to you, you are at much greater risk of being set on fire yourself.
Right, that's empirical. Like, we can't argue that, but on the same token, should we let that stop us from reaching out? Because, like, there might be a future, where you can embrace eternity with an Asari, and honestly, Mass Effect make that look good. If that's possible, I might give that a try. I don't know about you, my friend, but I'm a little kinky like that. I'd be okay with just having mind orgasms, I guess.
I think in the Mass Effect timeline, it could possibly happen within our lifetime.
Really?
If that timeline is to be believed. If I remember correctly, I'm not certain of that. It might be the 22nd century instead of the 21st century.
Right.
That all that takes place. But
it sucks, dude. Why does it have to be out? No,
but that would be really cool.
It's like
really what this has evolved into is like X and I really want to have sex with aliens. So can we please contact aliens?
Exactly.
And can we hope that they look more like Asari rather than xenomorphs?
Exactly. Well, I mean, that sort of goes back to the Stephen Hawking.
Or maybe also xenomorphs. I mean, I don't know about you.
I'm fine with the xenomorphs. I'm fine with it. Hey, if they can turn them into Megan Fox, like, I'd have a go with that. I don't care. Like, I don't need your permission. But but basically, it goes back to the Stephen Hawking argument, right? Is because when you contact alien life, the risks of a civilization being annihilated increases, but also the risks of you having sex with Asari also increases. So so I agree with Wes. Then we should keep trying because like that's also a possibility. I'd risk annihilation for some hot like alien booty, but that's a little off topic. Yeah,
you risk yourself every day. You go out and drive your car. Statistically, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Why not reach out to aliens, man? How do you want to go out, right?
Why not go for that intergalactic STD? Why not?
Exactly. There are more fun ways to go. Think about this. You could be the first man to ever die of space AIDS and just explode and it's glorious and like Earth gets wiped out. But hey, you get to be the first one. Everyone knows your name until humanity ceases to exist. Okay, so we have a comment from our good friend Mr. Bashi2. Hey, what's up, man? What's up? I might have given out a little information about you, and I'm sorry about that. But he said there's a good Chinese sci-fi series of books called The Three-Body Problem that tackles this exact idea. Which idea was that, my buddy? Like we went through a couple. Is it the alien bang idea? Because 3 bodies sounds pretty hot. I mean, I want to do one-on-one with an alien first, but hey, like if they're into like 3 ways, I'd be okay with that. But yeah, so 3-body problem. I'll have to look that up because I'm very interested in the alien problem because I think what drives the theories of aliens, it's just humanity's capacity for imagination. And imagination doesn't need like evidence or anything like that. I think that's the beauty of it. And it could go bad, it could go good, like it could be conspiracy theory, or it could just be like things that lead to Star Wars. I think if alien conspiracy didn't exist, I don't think we'd have Star Wars, I don't think we'd have like Star Trek, things like that. And it can be good or bad. And I definitely get why Wes thinks like a lot of people out there are just like just being like made to believe that something happened to them. And I do see the point of that. But I just want to say I appreciate the imagination to the point where we have alien culture as a thing. Like, yeah, that's my take. I don't know, Wes, what you want to close off with, man? I don't know if you can beat that.
No. I think in terms of like sci-fi as like an entertainment form and as like something we can like learn from in terms of philosophy and how to be better people is a valid thing for sure. But hang on.
What's going on down there? Is it a unicorn down there, buddy?
Aiden has once again contributed, killing all the humans, not alien space aids.
Well, alien space aids can kill the humans.
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what he's talking about. I'm a little confused now because I'm not sure when we got on that topic.
Problems, probably, yeah. Probably
what was the questioning? I'm sorry, X. What was the question again?
Oh no, did you want to close off? Because we're about like an hour and 40-minute mark.
Yeah, we're a little bit up. Yeah. My point is I think the alien conspiracy theories, the alien abduction conspiracy theories are really entertaining and really fun to look at.
Yeah.
I think there are enough reasons to bind you to debating human problems and human concerns.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not to say that sci-fi and fantasy and fiction do not have their place. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting to look at and debate and just view. It's just fun to entertain yourself with that. Yeah. But I do not think that we have come in contact with aliens. Is basically what it would come down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But hey, they probably exist, man.
They probably exist. Yeah. Unlike God.
What if God is the original alien?
Bro, I don't want to get too far into it, but there are a significant group of people who basically have the same like fundamental Christian views on the world. Yeah. But the only difference is that instead of Jesus being God, it's aliens are God.
Is that Scientology?
No, that's we could do a whole thing on Scientology. Okay, and I would love to do it.
Let's save that segment for later because I'm really curious on that because I've looked it up, but I have no idea how people believe this shit. But
I'm gonna close this with saying we have not come in contact with aliens, but they probably exist, and there is no God. That is what I'm saying.
That was perfect. I don't think I can beat that, and I think that really draws it close to this episode of the Oral Exposure. So I've had a lot of fun debating this, and I even got a little glimpse into like what people who like really believe in aliens, like what they think when people like really just doesn't believe them. Like I think that's a very interesting perspective. It kind of makes you sympathize with all these like people who really just believe aliens are real. Like I get it. I'm probably not gonna
hardcore religious people too.
Exactly. People believe way more people believe in God than aliens. Right? So so like Wes, should have been careful with that. Like you're gonna get like these Mormons and these just like people knocking your doors like, do you have a minute for God? You're gonna get a lot of that now. Like now this is online, Wes. So diss aliens, but I don't know if you can diss God. Sorry,
I think the people that are watching this episode right now know my beliefs on God, so what would be my guess? If they don't, then they've just found out. So
there's one like,
and we still have those 7 people watching.
Ooh,
so
thanks so much, guys.
They weren't completely turned off by it, so that's good.
Awesome, thanks so much. Thanks to all the fans. Thank you to my co-host Wes. Like this has been a great discussion. Next episode, we're not sure what we're going to talk about, but we'll announce it. But thanks for everybody for watching. Thanks for everyone for keep supporting Or Exposure. We're gonna keep pumping out content, hopefully once a week, maybe twice a week. To be announced. But we'll be adding a new show shortly, and it's gonna be me, Wes, and then another one of our childhood friends. His name is Aiden. Last name not disclosed. Even though I already told everybody. It's gonna be on Friday nights, and it'll be just a hangout session. We're not gonna be talking about any topics. It's just we do this meeting anyways, and I think a lot of what we talk about is just fun. It's interesting. So if you'd like to see 3 guys hang out, just come give us a watch. We'd really appreciate it. We're thinking about a name for the show right now. I believe the top contender is the salad tosser salad.
Tossing the salad.
Tossing the salad. So if you want to see 3 guys tossing each other's salad, make sure you give that a watch. God, I hope my mom's not watching this. If she is, she's not understanding what that means.
But I would also like, really quick, just as one other closer, also like our page on Facebook, and subscribe to us. And maybe if we get enough people following us, we'll start doing like little votes on what our next topic should be.
Hey, that would be fun.
Yeah. Or at least we'll do it every other topic, maybe. Or something like that. Let's do something like that.
I'm down with that. But you've been watching Oral Exposure. I'm X.
And I'm Wes.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.